right, what is Common Core?
It's a curriculum that was supposed to standardize, I guess, like a standard curriculum across the country.
Okay, and what do you think for?
Common Core? I hear my mom talk about it all the time because she's a principal, but I don't know much about it.
Okay.
Common Core, that's a good question. Honestly, I can't tell you what the brand name Common Core is, but that makes me think of educational curriculum. The core competencies that you need to graduate, whether that be gen eds or in your major, you have a Common Core of classes that you have to take. So I guess an example is I'm a microbiology major, so we have a core from the American Society of Microbiology as to what microbiologists should know.
Is it like general education requirements?
Common Core is the curriculum used in public schools for high school students.
Common Core is the system that is meant to keep education the same across all states, so it's supposed to keep everyone on a level playing field.
Bane of my existence. It's awful. And it is a nationwide effort to kind of like make sure everyone learns the same thing.
Common Core is a set of standards that is set up by the government to test public schools and determine how well they're doing in terms of like subjects that they deem to be essential.
What's the goal of Common Core?
I guess going back to that last response, to set a standard for all public schools to achieve and to grade them all on the same level.
That everyone across the nation is learning the same thing, which makes sense.
To make a standardized education for all students going through middle school, elementary school, and high school.
Okay.
I think the goal of Common Core is to keep everyone on the same page. I think part of it's also to kind of hold the teachers accountable to make sure that it's standardized. And when I say accountable is that, I love to teach, stuff that may not be on Common Core. So they're trying to, give a guideline for teachers to follow. Also make sure that children are prepared for, secondary school and even, college beyond that or trade school.
In theory, so that if students moved across states or from one state to another, that they wouldn't miss anything or wouldn't be ahead or behind from their grade level at the new school.
The goal of Common Core is so that the education in every school is the same, so that kids don't have a different education at one school compared to the school that's a few blocks over.
To have all children with the same knowledge base.
So that when you get to college, everybody has learned the same material and can draw from the same experiences with the same material, so that nobody's behind, and if somebody makes a reference to something, it's not going over people's heads.
And how do you think Common Core affected your educational experience or the educational experience in general?
I got it my senior year, and my class, we failed our tests, the Common Core tests, and we've always done really well. My school was the top of the bottom now, but I went and babysat a kid who was in first grade math, and I couldn't do the homework. She was how do you explain this? And I was it's 1 + 1, and she's how do you explain it? And she got it wrong because I couldn't figure out how to explain it. So it was really frustrating when I couldn't do first grade math.
And what did you mean by the top of the bottom when you were talking about your school?
Okay, yeah, so my school, I'm from California. My school consistently ranks at the very top, but then because when they enacted the new tests, everybody's scores dropped 200 points. And so we were the top still, but nobody got over a 50%.
I am not a big fan of Common Core because I think that a lot of times it's not effective, and it sort of limits the schools as to what they can do, because you could be sometimes doing so much more, but Common Core is just kind of forces things to be done in a certain way, which I think can almost hinder a child's education.
In math. So I don't really like it.
How did it make you get a B in math?
Because it teaches things in a weird order.
Okay.
I didn't really see a big difference because I didn't know what was going on in my education. But I think it could throw off some students in different states depending on where they are in their learning curve and then where they would move to and how that would affect what they're learning currently.
Okay.
I don't think Common Core had any effect on my education in high school. After I moved to Greenville in 8th grade, I went to a private school.
Well, considering I didn't know what it was before this, I would say probably not that much.
I think it, not overly positively, I would say that there were elements where it was helpful to learn about. We had specific ones at our school, but there was definitely a lot of teaching to the exams, if it's what I'm thinking it is.
I guess it prepared me for college maybe because like everyone I'm coming into college with knows kind of the same information, but I don't really know.
Personally, I went to private school, so I was not affected by Common Core. But I know my sister is a teacher, and she had, there were difficulties with its just implementation just because curriculums centered around Common Core are very new and they don't have much practice, and it often made things more difficult on the teachers than it should have.
This project was a little surprising in that I expected to hear more responses of what you typically hear about Common Core in the media. I didn't expect quite as many people to not know what it was entirely. I expected them to at least have misconceptions as to what it was. And I guess that's partly because I had a lot of misconceptions about what Common Core was until I took a different class last semester and we actually discussed it. And I expected to see a lot of those misconceptions, like this is how Common Core teaches math type thing that you see on Facebook and in the news. I expected to see that reflected in people's answers. I wasn't too surprised that people couldn't differentiate between the goal and the purpose of Common Core. But I really enjoyed the responses that I got back on my third question about the educational experience, because before asking that question, I hadn't thought about how students in private school wouldn't have been impacted by Common Core, so I really appreciated those responses. I was a little surprised by the lack of people commenting on how Common Core has affected teaching methods, because again, that's what you typically hear about, so I expected to see more of that. So I was actually happily surprised that people didn't have that many misconceptions about Common Core. They just didn't know what it was to begin with.